This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Welcome to Season 3 of Truly Independent. I'm Garrett Batty alongside my co-host Darren Smith. Each week, we'll go in depth with guests, industry experts, and we'll even share our own experiences, all with the goal of demystifying the independent film process. This season, it's all about the script, from the first spark of an idea to a polished final draft, breaking it down for scheduling, budgeting, and ultimately shooting. We'll walk through every step it takes to get from page to production. Welcome to Truly Independent.
Well, hello, Garrett.
How you doing?
I'm so good. It's been a crazy week, and we've got some fun updates on our projects for people who stick around to the end of the episode.
We're going to save those. Sorry,
You're
let's save
good.
those to the end because Darren, I'm excited for what you have to share.
Yes, I'm excited for what you have to share as well. Also, we are heading to NRB next week. So, like the day after this episode airs, we will be in Nashville for a few days at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention.
Is that what that stands for?
I believe so.
Radio.
I thought it was religious. Well, I'm not
It is
sure.
religious. The R is religious.
I think so.
Okay. Well,
Only
great.
there was some way to know for sure.
We could sit here and talk about it. I am excited to go to that. Darren and I went last year and met some great people. I actually arranged for some distribution for Faith of Angels out there. And this year we'll be going back to record some social media for that release and just continue to build those relationships.
Yeah. Well, in anticipation of all the conversations we're going to be having at NRB, and as kind of a summary of a lot of the conversations I've been having over the last few weeks, our topic today is on packaging. And I don't know that we've covered this one on the show yet. So I'm really excited to dive in and to explain from the producer, director, filmmaker side what packaging is. And then the hope is we'll bring on a guest in the next few weeks to give their side of what packaging is, whether they're a distributor or a packaging and sales professional. I think
I love
we'll
it.
have a nice two-hander with this.
I love packaging. Love the shrink wrap and the little poster that goes in and the UPC code.
Yeah.
So great. Is that what we're talking about?
Close. Okay.
All right.
Let's kick it off.
Set me straight.
Let's clarify that misconception there. Packaging is not just shipping and handling. So what are we talking about when we talk about packaging? So packaging is what you're bringing to the market, whether you're talking to an investor, to a production company, to a distributor, to a sales agent, to a theater, like whatever stage of the process you're in. It really all starts with packaging, which is something that happens very early in the process. So packaging is not just attaching a random actor and saying, you have a package now. It's not just having a script and a director. If that's you wrote the script and you have a director, you don't yet have a package. And it's not just making a pitch deck and saying, here are the types of actors we would want to act in our movie. It's like, here's Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie and Alec Baldwin, and I don't know why I'm saying these names, but there they are.
Great. That's a great cast already.
Cast. All of a sudden, you're feeling like, oh wait, that's a bit of a package. What's the genre? So the example I've given in the past is the same script with I wrote it, I'm producing, I'm going to go find a director, and we're going to use local cast, and it's a $1 or $2 million budget. That is a version of that movie. But a different version with a different package, what if you said that, shoot, why did I just blank on his name, that did all the good movies? Aaron Sorkin is the writer-director, and you've got Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie starring, and it's a two-hander thriller romance thing. All of a sudden, you're going, dang, I want to see that. And yeah, it's probably 40 or 50 million on the low end because of the packaging. And so it's not just like saying I have a cool idea and my friend is going to shoot it and I'm going to act in it. It's assembling the right combo of creative, financial, and market elements so that the people you're talking to, the investors, the distributors, the talent, they all feel a lot safer saying yes to the project. So it's kind of a way to reduce the perceived risk with your project as you're talking to people.
Okay. So it's not, yeah, you do want to reduce that risk, right? So if you're saying, what is the purpose of packaging? Is it so that you can take this to investors or a distributor or an actor? What is the goal of an independent filmmaker who says, I'm gonna create a package around this film?
Yes, I think all of the above. All of the above, right? So,
Okay.
in the conversations I've been having over the last 2 months, I've been talking to a lot of distribution companies, everything from like Sony firm all the way down to international sales agents. I've talked to packaging and sales individuals at the law firm that I use, at CAA Media Finance. I've talked to a lot of people about this movie that we have right now, Brotherhood, and Craftsman Films, and the whole slate we're doing with Producer Fund One. And this concept of packaging keeps coming up. For example, with Sony yesterday, we were talking about their model is built on wide release films. So that's 2 to 3,000 screens on average, a minimum of like 1,000, 1,200 screens. So if you do the math on that, you basically need a movie that can get 1 million people out opening weekend. That's what they're looking for. So
Yeah.
what does that movie look like? And the answer is the packaging, right? So who's in it? What's the genre? What's the story? What's the budget? Not that the audience is thinking, oh, this is a big budget movie, I want to go see it. Oh, this is $1 million movie, I don't want to see it. They're not really making those kind of decisions when they're picking movies. It's more about who's in it, what's the story, what's the rating, what's the genre. That's all part of packaging. And so the same movie, like I was saying earlier, I bring it to Sony Affirm and they go, well, we can't do this because it's not a wide release movie. We don't see how this movie Brotherhood is going to get 1 million people out opening weekend with the current packaging. And I'm going, okay, well, what can I add to the packaging to make it interesting to them, to make it something that might be more appetizing? And, we already have some of those elements in place. We have a writer director, we have some cast, we have some crew, but it's not yet in their mind enough of a package to justify the cost and the time and the commitment and the investment to make it a wide release film. So all of a sudden, that's how it plays out in the marketplace. You put your package in front of somebody and they go yes or no.
I like that. So it's about casting for audience access, not just artistic fit, right? So you're bringing them
Yeah.
say, hey, if you're going to release this on wide in theaters, then our lead actors need to have an audience that is used to going to see them in theaters and is willing to pay for that.
Yeah.
And then same with director and writer and the idea of the script. Hey, this is an art house movie that we're going to put on 2,500 screens is not a good package.
Yeah. Well, I think you inherently understand this, right? You look at what you did with Faith of Angels and you packaged it really well. You found yourself is part of the package. That's a lot of value. You're a writer director with a track record and you've made a lot of great faith-based films. Many have made money. And so that's a core piece, which was able to then bring in the actor pieces, right? So you were really smart and strategic about, oh, who are we going to go after? And I remember some of the names you mentioned before we landed on John Michael Finley. And I think they were all in discussion at the same time. It was like, who
John,
can
if you're listening, you were always our first choice.
you were reaching out to all of them at the same time. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to mention the other actors, but you were thinking very strategically about the faith-based audience that's going to show up to the theaters. Who are they used to seeing? Who do they like seeing in these types of stories? And when you landed on John Michael Finley and said you reached out, we looked him up. He had done I Can Only Imagine. It was the only other movie. It was this huge box office success. It's like, man, if we can get John, that would be a huge get. And what we're saying, the subtext of that would be a huge get is that increases the value of our package. Same thing with Cameron Arnett. Same thing with Kirby Hayborn, because all of a sudden you've got 3 different faith-based audiences that you're speaking to with the same movie. So it was so fun to watch you do that and be like, no, I know exactly who I want to go for. And then you used yourself and the script and the story as the packaging to get the actors. And then you use the actors to go get the money. And then you use the money to go get the distribution, right? So the package, it's this flywheel or this snowball that keeps growing the more that you add to it.
I think that sometimes we watch some of these movies and we often wonder why we keep seeing some of the same actors in the same movie. And that is, I think, a direct result of packaging, saying, look, this particular actor, Parker Posey, is a independent darling, right?
Yeah.
And so we're doing a movie that we want to have that independent feel, artistic, and kind of, yeah, I guess fit within that genre. And we're going to find those types of individuals. You might read that so and so is at Sundance every year with a new movie, and you go, okay, that's there you go. You're packaging.
Yeah.
That's somebody you want to pursue to be in your independent film. If you're saying I want to do that individual and put it in broad theaters all across the audience, that may or may not be the right package.
Yeah, you keep seeing the same people show up, Mark Duplass and Aubrey Plaza and Michael Cera, and like there's all these that keep showing up in Sundance movies, and it's like, yeah, but that makes sense. People associate that with that type of movie, and they go, well, I liked it before, I'll probably like this one. That thought process, that dot connection is worth so much in the marketplace. If you can have people instantly look at a poster or a trailer and go, oh, I've seen some of those package elements before and I really liked it, so I will probably like this one. That's the game. That's the subtext of the whole thing.
It's the exact same reason we see Hallmark actors in the
Yes.
same Hallmark movies. They've got their corral of a dozen actors that they can choose from, and the audience that Hallmark has just so brilliantly built is used to seeing those types of those individuals. And the challenge, I guess, the trade-off is saying, look, oh no, I'm an independent filmmaker and I want to do my own thing and I want to be artistic and I want to cast such and such in this film, whether they're a Sundance darling or not,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. But that shifts your package. So you're not going to raise the typical amount of money you might with that individual. You say, oh no, we're going to go really low budget. We're going to give this, we're going to take a risk. That is the exact opposite of mitigate the risk. And so we say, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to take a risk on putting this individual in the lead. If it pays off, great. If not, great. But we're going to probably be a little bit more cautious with what we spend on this package.
Yeah. So it's really thinking about the end in mind, which we've talked about on the show before. Okay, who's the audience for this? How are you going to reach them? What distributor is the right partner for this? What theaters are the right partner for this? What market strategy and marketing strategy is the right one to reach these people that we're making this movie for? So you're starting from the end with audience, and then you're thinking in distribution strategy, and then you're thinking budget. You're kind of backing into the budget so that you can be profitable. And then you're thinking about talent. So what I see all the time, and I haven't been for 10 or 11 years, but like when I used to go to AFM, the American Film Market, and EFM is happening this week, the European Film Market. So like at these markets, you'll have filmmakers go up and they go, I got a movie at this budget with this actor attached. And then the sales agents are going, no, thanks. Because they know that that combination of three things is not a package they can sell.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of the conversation, those sales agents are having conversations with buyers, people who are licensing material for their territories, whether it's TV or streaming or theatrical. So what they're doing all day long as a sales agent is they're opening up a little booklet of all the projects that they're representing, and they're showing them a poster that says written by, directed by, and 3 or 4 faces on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And the buyer is looking at those and going, yes, flip, 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 yes, flip, 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 no, flip, flip. And they're
Right.
literally looking at packages presented on a single one sheet or in a little brochure that the sales agents have put together. And so understanding the whole process and putting the things in the right sequence helps us as indie filmmakers make films, packages that can actually be turned into films that can reach an audience. But when we do it the other way and we start with the creative and go, I want to work with this person and I want this budget and I want to direct it myself, all of a sudden you get a lot of no's because the package doesn't connect with what's really going on in the marketplace.
So I think that there are 4 kind of areas that we can focus on as indie filmmakers to put together a package and say, look, this is a movie that is worth an investor coming into or donors or whatever it is and worth putting a team together for. And so I like to look at script, like what is the script? What is the commercial viability or the genre, or where this is the tone aligned with kind of what's in the zeitgeist of an audience right now? So what is the script, and is there budget awareness? Is this an independent film?
Yeah. One note on that, just because I hear it all the time, and you and I have done this at the Utah Film Festival where we've sat on the pitch panel. And I've said this comment, half a dozen times last year and half a dozen times this year. I was like, if you're making a genre promise by saying this is a blank genre movie pitch, and then your pitch does not deliver on the promise of the genre, you didn't package the script properly, right? It's a mismatch with the genre and what's actually in the script. So if the story you're telling is a thriller, but you're pitching it as a horror, that's bad packaging, right? It needs to align. And the same thing with any other type of genre that you're going to present it as.
So right now we're just doing revisions on the script for The Pearl, which is my next feature. And we know that the genre is a heist comedy. Now, I live in that faith-based space, so as I write, I tend to put in these faith elements. And this last pass, I've said, look, the genre is a heist comedy. That's what we're doing. It's a story about religionists. There's going to be faith elements in it. But with each scene, I'm saying, does this scene belong in a heist comedy? Let's fix it and let's make sure. So that's script. Let's make sure that there's a clear genre lane so that I can sit in front of when I'm pitching my package and say, we're doing a heist comedy starring these three actors, written by myself and Kirby Hayborn, and we've got this much money to back it up. Is that something you're interested in?
Awesome.
So yeah, great note. Script has to deliver on what it is. Next is attachment. So these two pillars, right? Script, attachments, meaning the director, the lead actors, or producer with a track record, or your DP or department heads. And I can say, it's actually fun to have these conversations right now because I've reached out to Jeremy Prusso, who's just an incredible DP, and he shot a lot of stuff I've done, and said, Jeremy, can you look at this script? He's on board. So now I can go back to people that as I'm putting together this package, saying, here's our director, here's our script, here's our department heads. We've done this before. We know the genre, know what we're doing, and people get excited about that.
Yeah, I should jump in here because, you're talking about that's your next movie. I've had a number of people ask me if I'm producing your next movie. And I said, no, like I'm not the right producer for that package. And you look at what it is, and all of a sudden you talk about who else is out there that might be a better fit. And you're like, yeah, that improves the value of the package, which is the right decision. I'm not upset about this. I'm not like offended. It's just good business. So it makes sense that I'm not doing this.
For the very same reason that I'm not directing the project you're on right now, which is great because yes, that's a musical that's very exciting and I'm 100% supportive and I'm going to be the first in line to buy a ticket. But it would be one that even if you came to me and said, hey, Garrett, would you like to take a look at this? I'd have to say, Darren, I think that there are better qualified directors or directors in that lane. So yeah, I live by the law of abundance. We say, hey, we're going to do this project and another dozen. And there's plenty of work for everybody. Let's find the right match for everybody.
Exactly.
And this one, Pearl will be shooting over in Europe. And I've got a producer buddy that has shot several films over there. And so we'll just tap into that. And that honestly helps the package.
Yeah, exactly.
Third pillar is this financial structure, right? What is the investor waterfall or the tax rebate or the gap financing or the donor model? In our case, the Pearl is a donor model. Because it does have faith-based elements in it, we're doing it through the Help Them See Foundation, and we're raising the full budget through donations, which we're very excited. I can go to my producer friend and say, look, we're going through donations, but we're going to shoot in Europe. So there's a 30% rebate in these countries, and it will all just help go to put the project together. It's him thinking, oh, who can I go to as far as an actor to attach them so that we can really just put this solid package together.
Yeah. And this is the part that kept coming up in the conversations with Sony, with CAA, with some of these other companies where they're going, tell me about the financing. And that's a part of the package question, right? It's interesting that's part of the packaging, but what they want to understand is, can this be profitable the way you've structured it? So if I said, well, it's an equity, 100% equity, and it's a $7 million movie, they would be like, that's really risky, dude. Like, you should not do that. But the interesting thing that I've been hearing is, oh, I've done the hard part of finding $1 million in equity. And now I can stack on a tax rebate strategy here in Utah. There's a 20 or 25% tax rebate.
Yep.
We can do gap financing for post-production. We can do some pre-sales and minimum guarantees utilizing a person that's going to be at EFM this week. There's also a new Toronto market that's happening in September, and CAA talked about repping it there. And then you've got, like you said, your donor versus equity model. So we're adding even stuff like donors and sponsors to be able to bring in some of the money. And that's in kind. So they're saying, oh, we want to give you money to have our name on it, or to have our car in it, or to sponsor one of the tour stops, whatever it may be. That's not money that we have to pay back, because they're already getting the value in exchange for having their name associated with the project.
Yes.
So the
Which is a
way that
great,
you structure it is part of the packaging.
yeah, it's a fantastic way, and it's going to affect the decision that a distributor or sales agent or whatever it is going to make. We had a person approach us that represents companies that want their brand represented in the film, and he's saying, we want to give you money to make the film. Like, we want to pay you to put our product, whatever it's Delta Airlines or whatever, to put that in the film. And that's a great way of getting additional funds for your film.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't, yeah. As long as you don't sit in a room then with CAA and say, okay, and we have to have such and such scenes in it, and it conflicts with what they want to do. But anyway, the final one is, what have we talked about? So script, attachments, financial structure, and then market position. So that's part of the package. What are the comparable titles or the target audience? The distribution path is the package saying, hey, we've got existing relationships with these 3 distributors, and we're going to take it through them, or we've decided on one distributor. And then festival versus direct to audience. Like, how are you going to get it? I guess build the awareness for it.
Yeah. And how are you going to reach people, right? Are you using festivals? Are you going direct to streaming or direct to consumer? Are you putting it in theaters? Everybody wants to know. So if part of the reason, and I've said this on the show, part of the reason I'm having these conversations with distribution companies now is because it makes everything else easier if I can say, oh, by the way, such and such distribution company is putting the movie in theaters.
Yeah.
They go, oh, this is a real movie that's financed, that's shooting in a month and a half, that has theatrical distribution. Yes, what do you need? Because it's a real thing. And like we said at the very beginning, it's about risk mitigation. So they're saying yes because it's easy to say yes. I've put a package together that's easy to say yes to. If it was just me and Ross and a script and an idea, we'd be in a much different place right now. It'd be a lot harder to get a lot of the yeses we're getting.
Darren, I would imagine if you're going to some of these recognizable agencies or reps with that type of package saying, we're going into production in April, we will be in theaters in October, they would be lining up to try to get their talent or crew just to try to help be a part of that project. Because every week I'm getting pitches where it's like, hey, here's a deck or here's an idea, and it's so underdeveloped, and there isn't a package.
Yeah.
So are you fine? I guess that's the takeaway for indie filmmakers. Put together a package before you just go randomly approach whatever it is, agency or something.
Yeah.
Saying, here's an idea. Will you help me make it?
You're spot on. And I want to add that you also need to understand where you're at in the packaging process when you're having a conversation with someone. Because is the conversation you're having an invitation for them to be part of the package? Or is the conversation you presenting the package for them to give you something else because the package is good, right? So yes. In all of these conversations with distributors, it's both. I'm saying, here's the package I have, and we want to add you to the package. We're looking for distribution now, and we're having the conversations now because we want a really solid distribution partner. So they're going, okay, I see. And, out of the 8 or 10 conversations I've had, half of them passed because the package wasn't something they could sell. Mm. They looked at the writer-director, the script, the genre, everything. They read the script, many of them, or they watched one of the previews of the movie, of the script that Ross did back in November. They looked at our potential cast and they looked at our budget and they said, this isn't for us because we can't, the way the market we have or the relationships we have or our place in the market, we can't do this justice. We can't make money on this. So I appreciate them saying no in that case, because the last thing I want them to do is say, yeah, absolutely, here's a deal, some deal terms, and I sign it with excitement and then realize after the fact, they don't know how to make money with this package. What's interesting is if you have enough conversations, you can find one that does see the value in the packaging. And they are interested, even though nothing changed. It's just talking to someone else in the marketplace. They have a different place. They have a different thesis. They have a different mandate. They have different people. They have different relationships. And all of a sudden, your package is way more valuable to them than to someone else. And this just goes back to a principle that I've shared often. And I think it's in my book. The fastest, most direct way to success is to put what you do exceptionally well in front of the people that overvalue it. So what does that mean? Put a really good package together and put it in front of the people who overvalue it, where they go, oh, yes, that. So I want to share one quick story that happened yesterday. And this is a bit of an update on Brotherhood, but this is the exact thing in practice. So we announced 2 of our cast this week, our 2 leads. And in the process of doing that, we're thinking, okay, who can we release this with? Like, what media outlet would overvalue this? So we went through our network, we talked to our PR people, and we even talked to our actors. And one of them said, hey, I've got a contact at Playbill, and they've got 1 million followers on social media, and they've got, this huge long track record. Playbill is like what you get at the program when you go sit down at a Broadway show, right? That's Playbill. So we talked to them. We said, we are doing a casting announcement. We would love to give you the exclusive. They said, absolutely, we love it. And because our lead actor was in a Broadway show a couple of years ago and has a lot of clout in that community, they actually changed our title or a headline for the press release to say that Mauricio Martinez is starring in Brotherhood.
Nice.
So, and the image was not a Brotherhood image. It was Mauricio Martinez front and center,
Okay.
because that's what they valued. They said the story for them was this Broadway actor is starring in an indie film that's a musical. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And so they released it. An hour later, Broadway World released it. We now have other outlets that are reaching out and wanting to publish the same story. So it's pretty nuts, but that was easy because of the package. They overvalued it. Broadway and Playbill don't typically write about indie films, but they did this time because they overvalued the story, the package.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show, if you put the right package together, and the and is important, put it in front of the right people who overvalue it, that's the secret.
Yeah. Congratulations on that. That's so, that's exciting, and a great example of how you're building that audience using a great package, a well thought out package.
Thank you.
So, Darren, we've talked for about a half hour on these packaging tips, and I certainly don't want to just beat a dead horse, I guess they say. I think that as an independent filmmaker, if there's a takeaway, so I love what you said about finding out where you are in the package. I had an email come in I had a meeting with somebody, and then they emailed me a little bit later on and said, we'd like to offer you to direct. And this was a first-time film producer. He was an author and hoping to produce a film. He said, we'd like to offer you to direct. Please tell us what to do. And I thought about it for about a few minutes and said, I need to pass on this, because there wasn't a package. I may have had a book, or there wasn't, like, as far as where they were in the packaging process, they wanted me to be a part of the package. They weren't coming to me with a package. And I'm fine doing that, but I'll do that for my own projects, prefer to do that for my own projects rather than just attach myself and then
build the package.
Sign up to direct, but really you're actually producing it.
Yeah.
And that's not, so just be sensitive to that. If you're producing an independent film or directing an independent film or whatever it is, as you approach people, be very clear and upfront. If you're confident in what you're doing, let them know. If you're not, let them know that you're looking for a producer, not a director.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a really interesting thing to highlight, because that's the pitch we get most often. It sounds like, I've got this thing and I would like to work with you on it. But what they're really asking is, I've written a script, or I have a project, please package it for me. And those are 2 very different questions. In packaging a movie, I mean, we're 6 months into, not 6 months, October, November, January, February, 4 months into this thing, and it's still not complete. So that's nearly full time focusing on packaging this project, which is partly why I required 6 months of development, because I knew it was going to take that long to package the thing. It's not something where you just go, oh, let's get a name actor and go. It's like, no, that's a great way to put a package together that doesn't quite work in the marketplace. So giving
Yeah.
yourself time and putting things in the right order is one of those essential elements of this whole strategy. But yeah, don't go out and ask people to package your thing for you unless you're actually asking them to do that and you understand that you're saying, "Hey, I need some help packaging this and I've got some money to give you," or "Here's the partnership agreement and what it would look like to work together." Those are things I can look at as a producer and go, "Oh, interesting." They at least understand what they're asking me. So if they're offering me some money or if they're offering me some ownership stake or something like that, yeah, we can have a conversation. But if they're just saying, "Please make my movie," they're saying, "Package this for me and then give me a whole bunch of money on the other side."
Yeah. Which you can do. And if you've done it before, then do it. And that's a great service you can offer. So if they were to come and say, we don't want, yes, we'd love to have you direct the movie, but first, let's do the right step in development. And is this a viable movie? Like, what is it? Is there an actual script? Who else is attached? Or we want you to help put that together. And say, okay, you don't need a director yet. Let's write the script or let's produce the movie. And I'm working on a project right now, an exciting project about a rescue in Hawaii. And they came and said, we've got the book. Here's please, let's see. Here's a deal memo, and here's some money, and help us package this.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay, Darren, what do you think? I love what you're saying about Brotherhood. I love hearing about Brotherhood. Where are you on that besides just probably Google searching the articles that are just cranking out now?
They're cranking out now, which is pretty nuts. We're trying to keep up with it all. So we probably have half or more of our leads and supporting leads cast. So there's 5, I think, under contract. We've got 2 more big ones that we're still reaching out to this week, next week. Mid-March is like pre-production. So we're a month away from having boots on the ground, production office set up, everybody's working, which to me is insane. Like, I want 6 more months before we do that, but that's okay. We gave ourselves time and we're going to stick to the plan. Distribution conversations are still ongoing. I hope to have a decision by the end of February. I think I originally said end of January, but I think I was early in that hope. It wasn't a failure on my part, but I think we're just too early. Whereas even from yesterday, having those 2 press releases go out is already creating some more legitimacy and momentum for the project, where
Yep.
I'm saying, "Oh, by the way, this happened." And they're going, "Oh, okay." Well, all of a sudden, as soon as you're associated with Playbill and Broadway World and probably IndieWire next and this other thing next, like, they go, "Oh, this is a real one. You're just in a different category at that point."
Yeah.
So then it's circling back to all the people who I've been talking to and all the investors I've been talking to and all this. The other thing I'm actively focusing on is the rest of that investor waterfall. So we have the equity portion. Where's the other $500,000 to $1 million coming from? So I'm spending a lot of my time on that. And, part of the strategy here is I'm not the line producer UPM on this movie. I'm the lead producer, but I'm not the boots on the ground responsible for the day-to-day and the scheduling and the budget producer. We've hired someone for that and they start next week, basically.
Wow.
That frees me up to do the high level stuff of talking to distributors, talking to other forms of investors who want to lend against things, being strategic about pre-sales and minimum guarantees and sponsors and donors and all that stuff. That's what I'm going to be spending my time on, and guiding and informing the marketing strategy as well and how we're reaching the audience at this early stage. Lots of events, lots of conversations. That's my day-to-day right now, but the movie's full steam ahead at this point.
That's so exciting. And I'm glad that things are picking up with your line producer next week. I've been part of some of the behind the scenes videos,
Yeah.
and those will be fun to start. That's always a fun stage to start filming when the boots start getting into the trenches, or I don't know what the metaphor is, but
Yes. I'm going to put in a plug for the videos you're creating because they're amazing. If people listening to this, watching this, go to brotherhoodmovie.com and put in your email, you'll get instant access to episode 1 of our behind the scenes of making the movie. And episode 2 drops in the next week or so. And so these are amazing and people are already loving them. So go and get on that email list and make sure you're seeing all the progress that's being made.
They're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to make. Well, good. Okay. It's exciting. And I'm so excited for the release and what you're doing with it, and look forward to it. As far as the Pearl goes, Yes, I mentioned we sent the script off to my line producer, or my producing friend, and he's reached out to different areas in Europe that we would look at shooting based on what they have available and based on their rebates and who our contacts are there. And so we're putting together a scout to go over there. And we've received funding through the Help Them See Foundation, which is quite exciting. And in
Hey,
fact, we'll be doing monthly read-throughs with new projects starting in March.
oh
We've got
man,
a new project that we'll be doing a read-through on. So you can go to the Help Them See Foundation and find out. What is it called? HelpThemSeeFoundation.org,
there it is.
and find out about that.
Amazing, dude. Congrats. That's big news.
It's exciting, but not as exciting. But this episode is what's exciting. So,
There we go.
and NRB, we mentioned we're going to be at NRB, so come and say hello to us. Let's commit right now to recording some episodes out there.
I like it. Sounds like a plan. All right, man. See you on the plane in a few days.
Yep. All right, we'll be there.
This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Thanks for joining us. If you are enjoying Truly Independent, please share and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the journey. Today's episode was edited by Michael Bradford and produced by 3 Coin Productions.